This is Caitlin Blackwood. I played young Amelia Pond on Doctor Who, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 434 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. And what a weekend! We have got stories to tell y'all. Welcome everyone to this. My brain is done. This week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do with virtual table and see you joined us this week.
This is for Eva.
This is Chrissy in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel on her way to the sane asylum, I think. I don't know. 'Tis the season. Find me a haunted house and just stick me in a corner and I'll just scream at people. Oh my. What a weekend. But we will get to all those shenanigans. First, we need to do the news, which is all coming from the TARDIS. Woo! So we got a new trailer for the 60th anniversary special. So a lot more Dr. Donna, just like, oh, Donna, I have missed you.
Not much longer, though. Come on, BBC,
In
give us a
theory.
release date. This November thing is driving me bonkers.
Yeah, because it's like at this point, it's like, is it going to be
last week
all
of September?
Yeah, I know, but still, it's like, is it going to be all just dropped on the 23rd? Or is it going to get back to back to back to back? Or are we going to spread these out leading up to the 23rd?
That was my point. It's like, we know that the actual anniversary is the 23rd, but this time during the 50th, we kind of knew a lot more. I mean, good grief,
yeah.
we'd had that the Night of the Doctor. We knew that all these different things were happening. So it's like, okay, this being vague is not.
And we had more audiobooks.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that. I mean, we're slowly getting the Doctor specials from Big Finish, and then I know.
But those are even going to go beyond the 60th. Those are going to go into early next year.
Right, and then, BBC Books or Penguin Books, they're dumping a whole bunch of books on the 28th of October, like stories from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s collections. So there's that. But it's like, come on, guys, a little more. Need the info.
Yeah.
to paraphrase a certain Dr. Evil.
Yeah. Like we kind of need to like know what we're doing for that month. Like we've scheduled out like, topics for the podcast, but it's all very, very much in pencil.
Right, because as soon as that stuff
we have no idea when. Well, I mean, the thing is like November 23rd, at least here in the United States, that's Thanksgiving. So
right, exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
It's like, what are they going to do? Or it's like, are they going to take that into account? Because the U.S. audience is rather large, but at the same time, it's like,
yeah. I mean, depending on who's playing for Thanksgiving for the sports ball. I mean,
the Lions always play on Thanksgiving.
The Lions and the Cowboys do, and they're also doing for the first time ever a Black Friday game, which I don't know how that's going to go over.
Right?
It's the Jets. It's like,
yeah.
But I mean, people make plans.
Right. Because I know for a couple of years there for Thanksgiving, it was Lions Packers before they switched it to Lions Cowboys. So,
really? Because
because
I didn't know that.
Oh yes,
Lions Cowboys.
Because John Yurkovich got taken out one year on the Thanksgiving game from a dirty play from one of the Lions players. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to know so that we can plan activities accordingly.
Yep.
So, hashtag first world problems.
Yes.
So
because I don't want to
but
get
yes.
distracted by the doctor while I'm cooking my turkey.
Yeah. Turkey will get burnt.
Yes.
So yeah, lots of lovely.
And how did you put it, Rachel? The
world's worst kept secret.
Secret, yeah, finally got confirmed on Instagram.
Yeah,
and the Facebook page.
Yeah, yes, they have finally confirmed that Neil Patrick Harris is playing the Celestial Toymaker. Granted, they're calling him just the Toymaker, but the fact that the official Doctor Who website says an all-powerful enemy last seen in 1966. It's the Celestial Toymaker, whether they're calling him that or not. So
yeah.
Although I'm sure Big Finish has some words to say about when
last seen.
Last scene, yeah.
Last scene.
If you want to be literal, he was last seen.
Yes.
In 1966. So
because I did a little research. There's 3 Toymaker stories.
Mm-hmm.
Magic Mousetrap, which is a 7th Doctor story.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a lost story called The Nightmare Fair with Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant.
That's from that season that
never happened.
Never happened. But they had scripts written. Some more than others. But I know Nightmare Fair was one of the more complete ones.
Yep. And then there's the Companion Chronicles with India Fisher, and that's Solitaire.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. BBC had sent, or Big Finish had sent out an email, so they might be sometime soon slashing prices, if not already, for at least 2 of those in the run.
Yeah.
So they're good at that.
Yeah. So that someone remind me if the TV episode is that one that's missing any of it?
There's some clips in the Lost Collection series, but you can find on Audible, you can find the audio with linking narration.
Yeah.
I do have
because
that.
it is because only the 4th episode of the 4-part story, The Final Test, exists in the BBC archives. It's an incomplete 16mm black and white film telerecording.
Yep. Yeah.
Magic space.
Yeah. So that one is one that there's most of it is missing, unfortunately. So
and it's under the.
Which may be why they're just referring him to as a Toymaker, because it's like, most of this one's missing. Most people are going to know who he is anyway.
Right. And it's under the BBC Radio Collection.
Yeah.
Through Audible. So you just do a search for Celestial Toymaker and you should be good to go.
Mm-hmm. But a
little more fun prep work.
Yeah. People are all like, all the comments are like, because they're like, Neil Patrick Harris playing the Toymaker, and everybody in the comments is like, yeah, we knew that like the minute you announced Neil Patrick Harris was going to be in it.
As soon as he walked out. I mean, it's basically pretty much the BBC shaking their head. Yes, they'll say, no, he's not being cast as the Toymaker.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting, again, because it's a first Doctor story. It's a Hartnell story, because most of it is missing. So a lot of people have probably not seen it, and they probably not bothered to dig into Big Finish. So then you also get the comments that it's like, tell me you know nothing about the toy maker without telling me you know nothing about the toy maker. And people are like, what's with all the costumes and the accent and everything? And I'm like, oh, you sweet summer child.
Uh-huh.
Okay, here, let me send you the link to Big Finish. And it's like, listen to these, read up on, yeah, even the guys on Traveling the Vortex, they've done a toy maker deep dive just to prepare for this. So it's like, here, let me send you these episodes of Traveling the Vortex.
Yes.
Here's your homework assignment.
Yeah, it's like it's like that's the whole thing with the toy maker is he literally plays games. He's keeping you on your toes. So that's that's his shtick. So yeah, he's gonna do things like
a bit of a trickster.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like he's gonna change his
holds
appearance and do all
he
sorts
holds
of
a
weird
very
things.
long grudge from the sounds of things too.
Yes. Yep. So, but this is very exciting. We're also going to see the return of Units.
Yes.
With Kate Stewart.
Yes.
Which Kate has not seen this particular face since the 50th.
Nope.
So.
That's right. Yes, that's true.
And of course, yes, Donna,
Yes,
Sylvia.
And lots of Donna and Donna's mother.
Yes.
And we'll get some Wilf too.
We will, yeah.
They're keeping Wilf on the down low. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, is it? Well, I mean, we saw a little. We did see the new unit facility in Jodie's last episode, but at some point, Unit went from being like completely broke to apparently
Tony
finding
Stark
more money.
I think
I think we had this discussion that like Unit was like digging in the couch cushions or something, and they managed to buy this big ass building.
Because I posted something in our chat, just the side angle of the new unit headquarters, kind of.
I thought it looked a lot like Stark Tower. Yeah,
I echo the 10th Doctor's comment back from the Stolen Nerds. It's like, in the 70s or 80s, it was all a bit more homespun back then.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like, oh, we're going full Tony Stark, are we? Okay, Unit. Well, okay. Calling the Avengers. Oh, wait, no, not those wrong Avengers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, in Britain, their Avengers are a little different.
Yeah. See what you did there, Chrissy? Like it? Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Couldn't resist.
Well, who knows? Maybe Colson made a side trip from Tahiti, like, here.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Let me show you how this is done.
Done, yes.
Yeah. Oh my. So yeah, I'm getting very excited for the 60th. Yes. I can't believe that it seems like forever ago that they were like, David Tennant, Catherine Tate coming back for some specials, and now we're here. We're like less than 2 months away. So
and to see RTD back in the reins, to see what he's gonna do, and what Easter eggs he's gonna pull in.
Yes.
I mean, I'm almost done with my RTD era rewatch, so it's just like,
yeah. So, and then we got a kind of an announcement that I'm so glad that this character is coming to live action. Meep. If you've not listened to the Big Finish with Meep, do so, because this character is just so much fun. But Meep, at least in this version, in the live action version, is going to be voiced by Miriam Margolyes, who most people probably know best as Professor Sprout.
Oh, cool!
Head of Hufflepuff from Harry Potter. So that's kind of fun.
Exciting.
Yes, keeping it in the British family, because that's what you do. Everybody does Shakespeare, and eventually you either do Doctor Who or some other big epic thing that's got a huge following, like Harry Potter or Game of Thrones. So
everybody gets to do a little bit of everything eventually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the island's only so big. You can only go so many places.
That is true.
So, but yeah, there's that. So exciting things coming from the BBC.
Yes. And speaking of the British Isles, this next one, this is one I wanted to announce. This relates. So there is a Kickstarter I wanted to highlight that is about making a movie about. Now, yes, this is a Regency romance novel. It is of a local author to me, Sarah Eden. She has a whole series, the Lancaster series, revolving around this family. And the first book is Seeking Persephone, and the book is kind of a retelling of the Hades and Persephone myth, but in
cool.
England. So the plot is there's this duke who is, everyone's kind of scared of him because he's really grumpy. I mean, like if he glares at you, you're all like, yes, sorry, sir, yes, sir, hop to it. And he thinks everyone's an idiot because basically compared to him they are, and it's actually very sweet and kind of charming. But he doesn't have an heir. He's not married, none of that. So if you read romance, you know how important that is. And he meets the guy who is going to inherit the title if he does not have an heir, and he's like, this guy is a freaking moron, and the title is not going to him. So I need to find somebody to marry and have kids, because that's just how when you're doing Regency romance, that's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So he, they do some research, and they're like, okay, here's this girl. She's from an impoverished family. She's a little older. She's got a lot of siblings. I can basically propose marriage and shower her with a ton of money, and she'll marry me. And so her name is Persephone because her father is a scholar. He named all of his kids after characters from Greek mythology. One of the boys is named Evander. I'm sorry. So there's that, and and she gets this offer just out of the blue. Her father is kind of not paying attention to the family. I mean, he's kind and everything and good, but it's just kind of like they're in dire straits, and their two brothers are off fighting in the war, and etc. So she's like, okay, here's my opportunity. Here's a golden opportunity for us. Get married. I'll be a duchess, and we'll have money, and we can secure a future. So it's Pride and Prejudice, Mrs. Bennet, but she's not as freaked out. So anyway, they go up and meet, and the whole story is about the Duke of Kielder, Adam, basically falling in love with Persephone because she's actually a lot nicer than he expected, and she actually cares about him, and it's a very sweet love story. And then throughout the whole series, so they get married, have a family, and her siblings move in to the manor with them so that they can be introduced to society and have a future and whatnot. And it's just so funny because he's got the youngest sister's name is Artemis. In the first book, she's 8, and she is the I don't know what you call her. She is just mischief to the nth degree. And the relationship between her and Adam as it goes on, he never wants to admit that he's really fond of her, but it is clear that you do anything to upset or hurt Artemis, or even think about doing it, the Duke of Kielder is going to rip your liver out and make you eat it. Basically, it's that kind of dynamic, and it's so endearing and so charming. So anyway, my point in explaining this is that there is an indie filmmaker. It's actually local to Utah. It was actually filmed in England and filmed a lot of different things, and he wants to make this movie with the author as a producer. They've got some actors involved. They're doing a Kickstarter to get the movie made. So if you are interested in supporting independent filmmaking, if you like romance, and even if you don't, or anything like that, you could just check it out, see if it might be something you want to support. and also I'm being selfish because it would be really fun to see this as a movie. There are a bunch of, it's a Kickstarter, so a bunch of different tiers. There's like one's pretty low down where it's like, oh, $20 will get you a digital download of the movie, all the way up into like, $1,000 you can go to the premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually going to be in Salt Lake, so you can come see me if you have that kind of money to drop on this. But yeah, I just wanted to highlight it because it's a really good book series. I really like this author, and the fact that there are indie filmmakers and actors and stuff that hey, we actually want to we want to do some things on our own outside the studio system, and I know that they came to a deal on at least on the writer's side with the strike. It's like let's give some small time creators some attention too. So anyway, the link will be in the show notes. It's called Seeking Persephone. The whole Lancaster series is finished. It also kind of ties in with their other Jonquil Brothers series, which those guys are a hoot and a half. So there's some crossover, but you can just read the Lancaster series and probably be okay. Either way, but they're both great. So if that tickles your fancy, if that's that's something you might want to look into. I mean, like I said, she's with a small press, a local press here in Utah, but she's got quite a following. You could definitely get her stuff on Amazon or through your local library. We do interlibrary loan after all. That is a thing. So yeah. So anyway, but yeah, they're fun characters. Such great characters. Adam is like one of Sarah Eden's most popular characters, just because he seems like such a jerk, and people are so scared of him, but he really is just a giant teddy bear underneath. It's like, oh, you're adorable. And the people that got to play Adam and Persephone, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so great. So anyway, that's what that is. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Good time.
We're totally down for supporting independent creators. So, and this wouldn't just be an independent movie, it'd also be an independent author. So
yes, absolutely. Well, small press, but yes. Small press,
so
small local press. But still, it's outside the
homegrown.
Homegrown, absolutely. And I've met her. I've actually met her in person several times. She is so adorable. It's so funny because she's like, I just love to research and history and all these things. So you think romance author, like, oh, it's a kissing book. It's like no.
Yeah.
To paraphrase The Princess Bride.
I understood that reference.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. So yes, there is kissing, but there's also a lot of historical research that goes into her work, and
Are there pomegranates?
Yes, they are referenced. They are referenced. I don't think they play a humongous role, but you cannot have a Hades and Persephone story
without pomegranates.
Without mentioning that.
And those of y'all that don't know what the heck we're talking about, will brush up on your mythology there.
Yes, I will say, because one of the times that I went and heard her speak during one of her book signings, that the reason that she wrote this story is because everybody who learns about the Hades and Persephone myth is like, oh, isn't it so terrible that Hades kidnapped Persephone? And she's like, but there's another interpretation of the story, that Persephone wanted to stay with Hades because he fell in love with him and is very romantic and sweet, because Hades he's the guy who just got his job done, and just because he's the god of the underworld. So but her mother was squawking about, oh no, where's my daughter? Where's this? So it's like, well, this is how we can spend time together.
Mm-hmm.
So pomegranate seed, like, I will eat these pomegranate seeds, so I will have to come here 6 months out of the year, and that's so that is kind of a more a different interpretation, which I think some other fiction writers, if you've ever read any Lord Olympus, that webcomic definitely falls into that category as well. So, and I'm like, it's a charming way to look at a story that's kind of gotten a bad rap over the
Yep.
years.
Yeah, because Hades is just happy doing his job. He's not an
Yeah.
evil. He's not an evil mustache twirling dude as some people like
No.
to portray him.
Yep.
No, although you know, the version in Hercules is fabulous.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
He
Oh
was
yeah. Exactly. Yes.
doing
Yeah.
that. So, but yeah, it's kind of like, you know, he wasn't chasing around and messing around with mortals or anything. He just doing his job.
Yeah.
And just because his job was overseeing the land of the dead, well, yeah, I guess there's some spookiness to it, but
Right.
still
Yeah.
decentish guy, right?
Yeah. And he had no master plan to overthrow Mount Olympus and be its ruler. No, he was happy down right where he was.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, anyway.
Sorry, can you guess what I'm covering in 7th grade English right now?
Ah. Well, this might be up your alley then.
Yes. We were kicking off with mythology, so.
Nice.
Yes.
Well, this is timely. So anyway, so yes, check out that Kickstarter if you feel so.
So link to that in the show notes, and then last in the Patreon feed, if you're a Patreon supporter for Gold Standard, this month's film is now available to you. I can't say we because Nick had to fly solo for this one because he recorded it yesterday and I did not get home in time and in any sort of condition to be recording anything because I was exhausted. And then Zan had a last minute personal emergency occur. So Nick had to fly solo. So you can hear Nick talk about the psychological thriller-esque film that is The Hitcher. So so there's that. So feedback. All right. Feedback, of course, from Shalane, because of course we did a musical. So she says, all right, another musical. So far this year, musicals, Music Man, Les Mis, Mamma Mia, Beetlejuice, and now Sister Act. It's nice to know she's keeping track. So
yes.
Well, since this is a musical episode, I forgot to mention other jukebox musicals that are based on movies like 9 to 5. Well, kind of. It has Dolly Parton's song 9 to 5. And I think The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston songs. I do believe, yes, The Bodyguard. As it's all Whitney Houston songs.
Yeah.
Anyway, Sister Act is a great classic with great songs, and Whoopi Goldberg made this film amazing. I've only seen this movie, and I do want to see the stage production. You may boast, sister. Good old Al Menken doing the music for the stage production. Yes, he did. I do like the second one, but I love the first one way more. Hopefully the third movie is good. Whatever happens, hopefully. But that is all I have to say about Sister Act. I'm still trying to get used to this movie. It is very 90s in some ways. Also, going back to Mamma Mia, I found out that one of the actors I work with at the theater company last year is going to be on that tour. Also, Mamma Mia tour is coming to Utah this Christmas. Very nice. I have to wait till early next year to see it. So, that is cool. Y'all are getting Jersey Boys, which is another jukebox musical. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. So,
yep.
That is coming through Utah. So that is cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. Another musical I believe you girls might talk about is Spamalot.
Oh, trust me, I'm sure that's somewhere in our list. I'm sure knowing that Rachel.
I have a Spamalot tattoo.
Yeah.
So thus it is on the list in more ways than one.
Yes.
Just it's TBD. Do not worry.
Yes. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Said. Also, have you girls talked about Monty Python yet? No, not really. Again, it is on the list.
We've made brief mentions because of connections with certain other people, but
yes, because there's a lot of crossover with Monty Python and a number of things. So
Yes.
Yeah.
we'll probably have to combine Spanlot with Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
That's what I'm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds like a
Yeah,
good idea.
Just talking about the Monty Python and the Holy Grail, it's like we would just be quoting it because it's like, how do you review this? It's
Yes.
just a bunch of dudes, a bunch of funny British comedians roaming around the countryside, being their comedic selves.
Yes.
With coconut shells.
With coconut shells.
And huge tracts of land.
Yes.
See, we've already gotten into it.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, so yeah. No, Monty Python will definitely be happening. At the very least, the Holy Grail. So and then she sent another email. She said, sorry for another one, but this is the last one. Me and Chrissy used to have relatives in Reno.
That is true. Our cousins lived there, and then they moved to Idaho. As
That's a
happens.
big change in atmosphere.
Why? Well, they moved to Boise, so it's a little more. Well,
metropolitan.
I don't want to. A little more metropolitan than most places in Idaho, but not by much. I don't want to dig at Idaho because that's where grandma. In the state,
I like potatoes just as much as the next person. So
also, although Boise State, their football team kind of makes my life. So, they have to play Utah State. And I'm like, oh, you and your stupid blue turf, like just. Everybody
they are the ones with the blue turf.
Yeah, it's like everyone goes on and it's like, it's not that special. It just makes it harder for you to see the players on the field.
Yeah. Really, if you think about it, blue turf, really that should be Kentucky.
It really should. I mean,
it is the bluegrass state for a reason. Yeah. So
it's
just
so
saying.
Funny that like Boise State was the one that gets known for it, and then everybody else because there are other schools that have different colored turf other than green, and it's like, oh, you're doing the Boise State thing. I'm like, of all places, why was Boise State the trendsetter? Like, come on.
They're like, we're in Idaho. We got to do something to stand out.
I guess so. I don't know. Jared's got cousins that live up there. His grandma lives up there. I've been there a couple of times, and I can't get too mad. But dang it, why do they beat my team? We were in when I was at Utah State. That was the first year in the WAC, and Utah State wasn't very good, so Boise State always mopped the floor with snow.
But we're not bitter.
Not bitter at all. No, not at all.
She finishes says besides Nevada, it has casinos, Monte Carlo, California, Texas, Arizona, Florida, Louisiana, New York, London, Paris, and actually a lot of places have casinos out. Indiana has several casinos out. Used to be here that the law was you couldn't have a casino on land. So you could either go. So we had a few
on the boat,
riverboat casinos down on the Ohio River, and that was it. And then eventually they realized how much money they could make, so they started allowing casinos anywhere, pretty much. So yeah, we have several within the state on land now. So.
With how lucrative sports betting is becoming, I'm sure we're going to see an increase in legalization of gambling all over.
Yeah, not that unusual to see.
Yeah, Las Vegas is going to have to start doing something else to kind of make itself.
It's all the other stuff is what gets people out there. All the shows and everything. It's like, hey, come see Lady Gaga. She's headlining for the next 6 months,
Yeah. Go skydive off of that one hotel. But
yeah. I mean, the only reason I want to go back out to Las Vegas is for all the stuff that has nothing to do with gambling. So. Well, that is Shalane's feedback. And then we got some feedback from Aaron. His subject line on his email said, I'm dishonest. And a dishonest man you can always trust to be dishonest. honestly. So hello, glorious Fiveish hosts. I had to play a bit of catch up over the last week because I was just now finally finished both seasons of Good Omens. Went back to listen to your coverage of the second season. My brief thoughts are this. Of course, the casting was magnificent. Tennant and Sheen are marvelous. There's a part of me that would have liked to see them swap roles. That was originally potentially what was going to happen. If you listen to Neil Gaiman talk about it. I'm not trying to say that they're too perfect, but I'd like to see them play against type. That season 1 finale gave a small taste of that, but I'd like to see more. Season 2 was a bit of a letdown. I like that the first had a clear story and less enthusiastic about the second being more of a guessing game. Also, where was Frances McDormand? She was in there as the voice of God a few times. I adored her as the voice of God, and despite the cameo, she was sorely missed. Finally, I'm curious how season 3 will unfold. I guess we're going to probably hear a lot of Frances in season 3. My personal prediction is that since the apocalypse was stopped in season 1, the second coming won't be prevented in season 3. Therefore, if Aziraphale intends to save Crowley, Aziraphale might have to make Crowley and possibly himself human. What better way for the series to end than Aziraphale and Crowley as humans driving off into the sunset? As long as they're together by the end of it.
Right?
Well, I will almost take just about any ending. As for the Pirates franchise, when it first came out, I had no interest until my sister came home from the theater raving about how much fun she had with the movie, and lo and behold, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Depth steals every scene, and the humor from start to finish never gives us a dull moment. The sequels are a little rocky. I rushed to see the second and hated it so much I didn't bother with the third until years later when a friend had a heart attack when I told her I hadn't seen it. She figuratively strapped me to a chair and popped in the DVD. I found it to be a slight improvement, but in all, the second and third just feel bloated. However, what shocked me is just how much I really like the fourth and fifth movies. I don't know if it's because more time was spent developing them, but I found them to be much more fun and enjoyable. All this pirate talk kind of makes me want to do a marathon. Take care, Aaron. So nice we could be such terrible influences on you, Aaron.
Yes.
That means we're doing our job.
I will admit, doing this podcast influences me to look at more closely at some of the stuff that we cover, especially stuff that I have not before seen, because there's stuff that I've seen that these ladies haven't seen. There's stuff these ladies have seen that I have not seen. Like, I was thinking about Sister Act 2. I had not seen it. So there you go. That is, we are doing our job.
Constantly doing that to each other. I'd never seen the Goofy movie until we decided to do it.
Yeah, that too. So yeah, we kind of go through and like, hey, I like this movie, and one of us says I've never seen it, and we're like, oh, well then we must review it because then you have to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's how this game works. You stumbled onto our secret sauce.
You're one of us now, Aaron.
One of us. One of us.
Yep.
Thank you for your feedback. Always good to
hear. Yes. All right. Moving on to this week's main topic. Chrissy's and I's shenanigans, running around like crazy people, spending money that probably should have been saved for other things, but oh well, you only live once. And you can't take it with you, but the memories you can. So
yes, indeed.
So I think all things considering, we'll do this in chronological order. So Chrissy can start first.
All right, yes, because FanX, Salt Lake FanX, which I knew this, but I also didn't realize it. This is the 10th anniversary. So the very first one, that one that was so chaotic but also intensely fun, 10 years ago, this month even, which kind of floors me.
That's crazy.
I know. I'm like, wow.
So FanX and PopCon started at the same time.
Basically, yeah.
Huh.
So there you go.
I felt like FanX had been around for forever. It just changed names.
No, well, I mean, it was Salt Lake Comic Con to start off with.
Yeah.
And then because that first one was so insane and so well attended that, the fire marshal had to shut the convention center down, close the doors. They said, well, let's do a second one in the spring, and that was what they called Fan X. And then San Diego Comic Con threw a hissy fit because it's like, no, there can only be one S something CC convention. So Salt Lake had to give up the Salt Lake Comic Con, and they just like, well, we'll just call it Fan X. So that's what we did. So Salt Lake Fan X, and yeah, so 10 years. So so Jared and I went on Thursday afternoon. We kind of got there a little late because we had to go deal with something at Alex's school. Everything's fine. No worries there. We just had to go have a quick little meeting with his principal. But so when we got there, and so I will back up a little bit because Jared's brother Brian is a huge Halo fan. Loves Halo. And his son Nate, who's 13, also loves Halo. And the voice actors for Master Chief and Cortana, I'm trying to remember their names because we've just been calling them Master Chief and Cortana, were going to be there. And originally we thought, oh, Brian's not going to go, so let's go for Christmas. We'll be sneaky and we'll get him Master Chief's autograph for Christmas. And my in-laws went in on it. It was this whole big thing. Well, Brian found out that Steve Downs is the name of the voice of Master Chief. He found out he's going to be there. He's like, oh, I'm going. And you got to know something about Brian. As much as Jared and I are into all the geek culture stuff, Brian is not. And this is not a dig at him at all. He's just, he grew up with two older twin brothers, and he had to, do something to stand apart with him, which is fine. He is good at what he does, and all that stuff. But Halo is his one big thing. So he had been to Comic-Con like once before with his wife Kelly, and Nate had never been. So we're like, crap. He was gonna go get Master Chief's autograph. Well, they're like, well, let's get him Cortana's autograph because he's probably only gonna want to get the, buy that himself. So we made a bit of a change in plan. So everybody's, we're still all gonna pitch in for that. That's his Christmas present. So we got there a little bit later, but Brian and Nate had been all over the place. Well, mostly all over the place. I'll get to that in a minute. And they had already been and gotten Master Chief's autograph. And so we're like, so we're just kind of like, well, Brian, you need to come with us. And we're gonna, we're walking back down to the celebrity row and all this. And I'm like, well, I want to go get Alex Kingston's autograph and all this. Well, then, Jared finally says, Brian, we need to get you Cortana's autograph. This is your Christmas present. And he's like, really? We're like, yeah, we've all planned this, and we're gonna go meet her. It's like, oh, well, we already talked to her. We just didn't get her autograph because we weren't planning on it. And we're like, well, let's go get it. Well, we get there. Jen Taylor is that voice actress. She is not there, and we're like, well, shoot. Well, okay, so like, okay, she's probably just gone to dinner or something. So we'll go. You guys go look. I'm gonna go stand. We're gonna go stand in line for Alex Kingston, and it was so the way it was laid out was Arthur Darvill was on the end. It was Karen Gillan, and her line wrapped all the way around the other side. And it was Alex Kingston. And I'm walking up there, and Jared is talking to Brian and Nate. And Nate is like 13-year-old kid snapping pictures of everything. I swear, I don't think there was a square inch of that convention center that kid did not take a picture of. And what was funny is later we saw that he said he was texting him to a friend, and his friend is like, where the heck are you? It's like, we're just in Salt Lake, and it's at the Salt Palace, so it was kind of funny. So Jared is trying to explain to Brian who Alex Kingston is, who she played in Doctor Who, because he asks, oh, who is she? What character did she play? And so we're all like, oh, how do we explain River Song to someone who has no clue? And which was kind of entertaining. But Brian's a good sport, and he's like, oh, okay. And we're just like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, one of my favorite episodes is Husbands of River Song, and the doctor shows up and she doesn't know who he is because she's never seen this face before. I think Brian at that point was just nodding his head to be nice. Because I'm like, And the line isn't that big a wait, although we do have to wait in the general admission line. It's like they were getting the VIPs through more or less as fast as they could. Although Alex was very chatty with everybody because she would want to just talk to people, which is great because you go up there and we've waited in line, you're paying this money, and her table. I'm sure other people do this, but it was very clever, I think, because at the table it said, okay, autographs, $60. A table selfie is $50. If you get both, it's only $80. So I'm like, so everybody is like, well, I'll pay the extra $20. If I'm getting an autograph, I might as well get a table selfie. Why not? So it's taking a lot. So it's just taking a while. And we finally tell Brian and Nate, like, just you guys wander around, go look at, if you want to go look at other things, we're gonna be a minute. So they go look around, and there's people going by. This one girl got the autograph, and she met Alex, and she walked up, and she's like just bawling, like she met, I don't know, it's probably the same sort of thing as you meet the Beatles at the height of Beatles.
I know a thing or two about crying on celebrities.
Yes, I know.
Especially Doctor Who ones.
Yep.
Yes.
So anyway, so we're waiting there. Brian and Nate come back. And you know how they usually have that little banner behind them that has their name, their headshot, and then a couple of pictures of things they've been in. So of course there's one from Doctor Who of River Song, and then there's one of her character from ER, and then there's another one I didn't recognize. Well, Brian actually does work as an ER nurse. That's his job, and he was looking at the thing. He's like, wait a minute, I knew I recognized her from somewhere. She was the character in ER. She was the one that I guess she is like really, I can't remember what he said, but he was very impressed with the character. He's like, yes, I liked her because she was so strict and so this and so that, and we just started laughing because trying to explain to Brian why I wanted to get her Alex Kingston's autograph, and and he's just listening and whatever, and then he realizes that he's seen her in and he really liked the character. And he didn't stick around long enough for when we got up there, but it was just funny, his look on his face, like, I know who she is. So that was great. So we're still waiting, and I noticed that Karen and Arthur have left. And I quick checked the schedule on the app, and it says that there's supposed to be a photo op with them at 6:20, and at this point it's like 5:30, maybe closer to 6. I'm like, oh crap, we're not going to get up there. And in fact, like, someone had come and said, hey, you've got 20 minutes, she's got to go. And I'm like, shoot. So they one more person from general admission go in, then someone from VIP, and another one from VIP. Well, then the guy at the table motioned me up. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm looking at the photos, which one I want to get. And originally I was just going to get the one of her from Impossible Astronaut with, the denim kind of cowboy looking outfit, because that one was filmed in Utah. Of course, I have a soft spot for that one. But then I saw the one of her in Capaldi's TARDIS, and I'm like, nope, that one. I need this one.
Husband's River Song.
River Song. I need this one.
Yeah. Hello, sweetie.
Hello, sweetie. So then I get up there, and I actually am very proud of myself. I did not cry. I did not say anything stupid. What I did say, and I was being truthful, I was being honest, I was like, you know what? I love River Song, but I will tell you, I didn't like her at first because it was, and she was like, why? And I was like, well, because you came in at Silence in the Library. I felt like you were stealing Donna's thunder at the time. She's like, I would never steal Donna's thunder. I was like, oh, you are so fun. I was like, but no,
you are a fangirl.
Yes. And so I was like, then I watched the rest of it. I watched all the, got through the story, and then by the time it was Husbands of River Song, that was my favorite because you and the 12th Doctor were just so good together, and everything else. So it was just, she was like, oh yes, it was so moving and so wonderful. And then she asked me, like, do you want me to say spoilers or hello, sweetie? I'm like, oh, please say hello, right? Hello, sweetie. So she did, and Jared told her about what Brian had said, and she's like, oh, I love that, ER. So, and of course I paid for a selfie. And I had like put my hair down because I have curly hair, and she said, "Oh, it's like, oh, you have such lovely curly hair." I was like, "Yes, I actually have a costume, a River Song costume, but I had to come straight here from work, so I couldn't wear it." She's like, "Oh, shoot." But yeah, so I have a selfie with Alex Kingston, and I actually like how I look in that one. I mean, even though I was like running all day and really didn't get a chance to, make myself look presentable. I was just showing up, but I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So yeah, so I got to meet Alex Kingston. I got to meet River Song. It was so fun, and she was so adorable. Just I love her. I love her to pieces. And she was so good with everybody who came through the line, like while we were waiting, and just took her time to talk to everyone. And I mean, I'm sure the handlers or people in line or whatever were kind of like, "Hey, we need to wrap it up and keep going," but it's just like, nah, let her do this. Let her do this. She took her time with as many people as she could. So that was great. So then we're like, well, we kind of like, and then we went. So I went and got in line for Cortana because Jen Taylor was back, and her line was not long at all. And Jared is calling Brian's like, "You need to get over here because we're gonna do this." And he's like, "I'm coming," and we're like just waiting. We actually kind of let a few people come in front of us. So, but then Brian comes up, and we're like, "Okay, pick a picture." You picked one, and like so there's me and Jared and Brian and Nate. And we get up there, and she kind of looks at like, "Are you all getting one?" It's like, no, this is his Christmas present. We're buying it for him. And she's like, "Oh," I was like, "That makes me feel so good," because she like asked Brian like, what's your name, like what do you do, different things, and he talked to her, and what I'll write a Cortana quote, and he thought of one, and everything, and so they talked Halo for a while, and I mean I know enough about it, but I am nowhere near fanboy levels that Brian is, and it was kind of cool because Nate's standing there too, and it was just cool. It was just so cool watching what because I love my brother-in-law. I love Brian. He's a really good guy. He's kind of got can have a bit of a brusque personality, given his line of work, understandable. And but just kind of seeing him and Nate, of course, just they were like kids in a candy store. This was, like I said, Brian had been to Comic-Con once before. This was Nate's first time, and I guess last time Brian went, he didn't quite get it, or he didn't quite understand what you do and what you go look at, what you go see, but he was like asking all the people, all the cosplayers that he saw. There was some, Master Chief cosplayers. There was a couple of really good like Mandalorian and Boba Fett cosplayers. They actually had like the voice modulator in their helmets. And he was like, "Can I get a picture?" And although the funniest one, there's this guy, dead ringer from Maui from Moana. It was this Polynesian guy, and he had like the bodysuit that had all the the tattoos, and then the little leaves and the hair, like his hair, that was his real hair, but it was the curly sort of longish hair that Maui has. And Brian's like, "Oh, can I get a picture?" And he's like, this guy is like totally in character as Maui. And Brian took a few pictures, like, "Thanks, my kids love you." And Maui goes, "Thanks, I love me too." Like, that is so perfect.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it was so there was that. I'm going over my notes, seeing what else we had. And also Brian, he's walking around, and there's so this time they didn't have like a centralized place because usually before they've had Bard's Tower where all the authors are signing. Well, not all of them, but a vast majority of them. I don't know what happened. There was some controversy with Bard's Tower, so they are not a thing anymore, I guess. So there were a lot more individual author booths, or smaller groups of authors who shared table space or whatever. So Brian had been wandering around, and he passed one, and there was like a poster for an author named Troy Denning, who has written a lot of Halo books, some Star Wars books,
Mm-hmm.
probably some Star Trek. Don't quote me on that one, but Brian, apparently one of his favorite Halo books was written by Troy Denning, and so he went and bought a copy of it and had him sign it, even though he probably has other copies of it at home. He's like, nope, I need this. Like, I didn't know he was here. He's like, yeah, authors come to these things. He's like, really? Yeah, so it was, like I said, it was just so cool. So we were like, well, we're just gonna walk around the vendor hall, and Brian and Nate had already seen a big chunk of it, and like we were walking around. So the way that the convention center is laid out, it's kind of in an L shape, especially the big vendor hall, and the like photo ops and celebrity row and some of the other booths, they're in the bottom of the L, which is a little shorter than the rest of it. So Brian is like, oh, well, we probably need to get going because we got a bit of a drive home. And, we've seen all of it. And we're like, you have? Well, do you want to go see Artist Alley? He's like, what's that? It's like, oh, that's, where the, artists are, they're hanging out their stuff. It's like, oh, well, we've seen some. And then we like, so no. And we like go around the corner and we say, have you been over here yet? And it's the taller part of the L shape. And he's like, oh, this is it too? And I'm just like, yeah, this is all FanX too. He's like, oh, we haven't seen this yet. So I mean, like, Jared and I have gone.
What did he think that was?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they didn't come in that way. I don't really know. I'm not sure where they came in at, because I'm like, how did you miss this? But I don't know, because they thought they'd seen it all. We're like, nope, there's still this, and they were only going to be there Thursday. So we're like, well, let's, we're just gonna walk up and down the aisles and look at things, and if you want to buy anything, you can. So we were just kind of walking on that, and anytime, and they're also like, Brian and Nate are both like really into Legend of Zelda, so that's kind of a big thing right now. And so like we would go by vendors selling different kinds of swords, so they would find the master sword from Zelda and take pictures with it. And there was a guy selling helmets from different franchises. So there was Star Wars, like Stormtroopers, Vader, but there's also Halo, Master Chief helmets. There were just so many things, and it's like, for me, it's like, okay, I've seen this before. A lot of the vendors that we have been here before, so we've seen a lot of this stuff. It's the same people that come mostly every year, but there were some new things. But it was just kind of interesting to just see it from somebody's perspective that didn't go every year, that wasn't old hat at this, that wasn't wasn't, I don't want to say I'm jaded, but I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I have that, or I've seen that. And, and it's kind of the same thing, like taking my kids, is like, this is all new to them. This is, these are cool things. Like, so, maybe it's something that's traditional that I've seen a lot of, but now somebody else is, and you kind of get, it's the whole, can't see the forest for the trees sort of thing. But now I'm like, this is cool. This is still cool. This is still fun. I mean, I still think it's fun, but now it's fun in a different way. Hold on. I'm getting text from people. So eventually Brian and Nate did have to go. So then it was Jared and I going up and down, and we finally got to Artist Alley, because we're kind of like trying to be methodical about this stuff. And so then we actually didn't buy as much art as we normally would, mostly because it's like, I feel like we've got these and we've bought so much art that we're like, we still have stuff we need to put up. But then we were like going down, and Jared taps me on the shoulder and says, look, and there is, and I'm just gonna tell you the website, the website to go to, because, well, or just Google it. It is Chunky Bunny Art, and Chunky and Bunny are both spelled with I-E, so it's CHUNKIE, and Bunny is BUNNIE Art. Go Google it. Because she has, her name is Stephanie on her card, Stephanie McKenzie. And it is anime characters, a lot of Sailor Moon, and I just my jaw just hit the floor because I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even sure how to describe these. I did post pictures of them on our Facebook page, and it's sort of like traditional Japanese art, so like they're in very fancy kimonos and things like that, but it's definitely these characters. And like all of the characters, the Sailor Moon characters are, there's one for each of them, and they're printed on this really, really beautiful paper and just colored just so well. And there's like this gold accent to it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, these are. And I was like, and her and her husband were there running the stand, and her husband was the one I was like, here, you can look in the little bin, and she had them all mounted on foam core, and I'm like, pull out 3 because you could do like buy 2 get 1 free, so it was like $60, I guess. I can't remember what it was exactly. And it's definitely worth it. Like these are definitely worth the money. But I had to kind of be picky about which ones I got. But yeah, I'm like, I need to frame these. I need to get some really nice frames and put them somewhere. I can't just, tack them up on the wall and say, there you go. Because this is like, when you say fine art, and yeah, they're anime characters. And I also got one that was a Inuyasha and Kagome, but I've also been watching Inuyasha, and I'm like, oh, I need more Inuyasha art. Oh. But yeah, so and it was funny because then I looked up her website, and she has a list of all the places, all the cons she's going to, and it looked like there's a lot of ones out in Florida, so I'm like, it must be based out in Florida. But and then she swung out here to go to Denver and then Salt Lake. I was like, I'm so glad you came. Please come again, or I will just go on your website and buy more when I have a little extra spending money or something. Because dang, this,
find a space on your wall.
Oh, I know, we are running out of room. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, Chunky Bunny Art, and Chunky and Bunny are spelled with IE, but the artist name is Stephanie McKenzie. So you could probably Google that and find it. But yeah, she's got an Instagram, she's got a website, she's on all the social media stuff, but totally, I'm just like, I'm going to promote the crap out of her because she is amazing, and I cannot describe it over audio podcast. So you can go to our Facebook page and look at my posts there where I post pictures of her artwork, and it's beautiful. It is just, oh my gosh. There's fan art, there's fan artists you see, and they do a good job. I'm not taking anything away from other artists, but everybody's got their style, everybody's got their thing they do that they're good at, and that's great. That's really, it's fantastic, and everyone has an audience. But Jared pointed at him, and like I said, my jaw was on the floor. These were amazing. So and I don't think she'd ever been to Salt Lake that I had seen. So I was like, yes, I'm going to buy what I can. And then another one we got, and I feel bad because I didn't get his card, so I can't promote what his name is, but it's called pixel art, but I don't know that it's really, well, okay, the art itself isn't pixel, but he does video game art. So and it's like scenery, so not like characters or anything like that. So we got one, this was Jared's picks. We got one that was a landscape from Skyrim, one that's the Dueling Peaks from Zelda, and then I picked one that's Peach's Castle, and I'm like, I'm going to frame that and hang it up in Lottie's room, because I think she'd love it. But it was like, he had like a video showing him how he, it's kind of like, who was the artist that did that, like, that painting of the people in the park that are like strolling through the park? If you saw it.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I
I
can't
can't
either.
remember, but it kind of reminds me of that style, but with video game backgrounds. So we got those, and they're really pretty. I mean, the two. Okay, well, there's one that like has a dragon in it, but it's a big mountain, and then the other one is. So like you could ping them up and think, oh, and people think, oh, these are just really nice paintings. But then obviously the one with Peach's Castle, that's obviously Peach's Castle from Mario 64 and whatnot. But I mean, it's kind of cool to get those kinds of paintings that are that art that it's like, yeah, it's geeky fan art, but it also is like really kind of has that sort of high class, high art sort of vibe to it. So it's it's sort of like if you didn't know, if you had someone over and they didn't know what it was, they wouldn't know the difference. So but anyway, so yeah, so that was Thursday. I'm trying to think, what else did we buy? I felt like we bought more stuff. I did get a Sailor Pluto plushie. She was huge, and she was only $20. So I was like, I'm getting this. Oh yeah, we bought some T-shirts because some of our geeky T-shirts are. So Jared got a Dungeons and Dragons one that's like the cover of one of the old school books. And then I got one from Fruits Basket, which has Kyo as his cat persona, and it's captioned "Stupid Cat." And if you've ever watched Fruits Basket, you know why that's funny. Also, I love Kyo. I think maybe one day we should review Fruits Basket. The anime is not terrible. But anyway, we'll put a pin in that one. I think that was all of Thursday. Friday, I think this happened last year. I had to work because I couldn't get it off because we've just been so short-handed. So we didn't go Friday. Saturday though, we went. We brought the kids, and Alex wanted to dress up as Mario, and he insisted that we all dress up. So we did our Mario family costumes that we also did last year and probably the year before. I feel like we've worn these costumes so many times, but he liked it. Well, so Saturday I was worried because on Thursday all of our usual parking spots were full, all the parking lots that are close to the convention center. So we had to park over at the Gateway Mall, which is close but not very close. So we still had to walk. And I'm like, oh, walking that far with kids is not fun. But glory be and hallelujah and whatever, the City Creek parking lot actually had space on Saturday morning. Who'd have thunk? Usually that day is hit and miss. So we actually got a really good spot. So we're walking. So we got parked and we went up. And Alex and Lottie have been talking about FanX for weeks. And they've been wanting to go. They keep asking, is it FanX yet? Is it FanX yet? I'm like, no, not till later in September. So now it's finally FanX. Lottie is just enjoying. She's in the stroller, so she's just enjoying the ride. Alex is just he's got a death grip around me as we're walking. I'm like, Alex, it's okay. And it's gonna take him a while to warm up. So where you go, so we go into City Creek, and you have to go through Nordstrom and take the elevator down to street level so you can cross the street and go to the convention center. So we're waiting for an elevator on the second floor of Nordstrom, and there's some people. Obviously, they're going to FanX. There's a guy in a dark robe with a Deadpool mask, and Alex is just doesn't want to talk to anybody. But these guys all turn around like, "Hey, it's the Mario family," and I guess they could tell Alex was a little nervous. They're like, "Hi," and they're like, "Oh," and this guy's like, "Oh my gosh, you're the best Mario I've seen, and I've been here all 3 days." Like these guys, they didn't have to say anything to my son. They didn't have to, compliment him or try to befriend him. And they could tell obviously that he was being a little nervous and shy, but they went out of their way to kind of help bring him out of his shell a little bit. And a dude in a Deadpool outfit in a dark robe with a hood might be a little scary, but I was like, hey, look, Deadpool's saying hi to you. But they were really sweet, and it kind of warmed my heart. So I don't know who those guys are, and I highly doubt they're listening, but I just want to say thanks for trying to put my kid at ease, because it takes him a while So like so we get out onto the street, walk across, and Alex is just like clinging to me. He will not let go. Or he's got his hat, like he brings his hat down over his eyes. He doesn't want to look, but he's got my hand, and he's walking along with me. I'm like, it's okay. Like, look, and I'm pointing out characters that he might know. It's like, there's some Mario, there's some Peach, or there's stormtroopers, Star Wars things. He's getting into that. And he's just like not happy. So, we get into the convention center, they have to do the bag check and all that stuff. And the way that the convention center is, like, you go in from the street level, but then you have to get in the elevator to go down to the vendor hall because it's like built into the ground or something. I don't know. It always kind of throws me off when I walk in that direction. So we're waiting for the elevator. And this girl walks by in this really awesome Princess Peach cosplay. And we walk by, and I was like, Princess Peach! And I was like, maybe the kids will kind of open up to her, or at least like Lottie would say something. And she was like talking to Lottie in her little Peach outfit, and Lottie was a little shy too. But it's like she sat down on the floor next to the stroller. And I was like, I asked if I could take pictures of her and Lottie, and she said that was fine when she was talking to Lottie. And Lottie was a little shy, but and Lottie had her pink bunny that she takes everywhere. She's like, I love your bunny, and your princess outfit is so beautiful, and you're so cute. And Lottie kind of said, thank you. It was cute. Alex was having none of it, but yeah. So then we got down to the floor, and we're like, hey, let's just walk around a little bit and just kind of see how it goes. Well, slowly, little by little, and I could tell, like, Alex was starting to kind of warm up to the whole thing. He was loosening his grip. He's still holding on to me because I'm like, yeah, we're in a big crowd. You're not letting go. But he would like look around, look at all the things, and people would stop us and be like, oh, it's the Mario family. You guys look great. Some people would want to take our picture, which was awesome. And Alex, he started just kind of enjoying it. Like it took him a while to really get in the groove of it. I kind of realized he kept saying, I want to go to FanX. I'm like, Alex, this is FanX. This is what it is. And we would see things. And then we walked by, there's a lot of tables. They were selling D&D dice, but we walked by one that like had these big foam rubber ones that I've been looking for something like that for the kids for so long. I finally found one. So they're not little tiny ones, but they're these big kind of chunky ones. And they were, they had some remaindered ones that were, I guess, were a little dinged up, but not bad. So they had them 50% off on Saturday because, Saturday it's like, vendors don't want to take all the stuff with them if they can help it. So they discounted everything, and we're like, hey, can we just, we're just going to buy a set here. And we bought, they didn't have any D20s in that pile, unfortunately, and they would have been $30. It's like, we'll get the rest. So we got everything else in that kind of foam rubber thing, and they threw in a free dice bag for him because, of course, and a little string backpack, which Alex loves. And so when we got those home, the kids were like, I want to roll the big dice. So they love that. And then let's see what else so we walked around and we kind of loosened up a little bit, and then we're like, well, here, let's go. Like, we were just kind of like wondering where KidCon was because we always take kids up to KidCon, and we weren't sure where it was, and I'm not sure why because I think it was in the same place it usually is, but for some reason we got all turned around and ended up somewhere else. Although Lottie wanted to ride the Carrie stairs, which actually was the escalator, which is tricky with a stroller. And we just have one of those little umbrella strollers, but we made it work. But she's like, this is awesome. So she's riding the ride. I'm like, this is what it takes to entertain a 3-year-old. Then we finally got to KidCon, and we walk in, and there was like this Lego, well, a couple of Lego setups, but she was like a professional Lego builder. Her name is Jen Smart, and I guess she was on like Lego Masters as a show. Anyway, she had built this life-size Wonder Woman out of Legos, and that was what you saw right when you walked in. And then you go around on the other side of her table, and there was this Mario out of Legos. And we're like, Alex, let's take your picture. And like Mario's like standing, posing, like got his arm out, stretched. And Alex keeps looking like trying to do the same pose. He wanted to do the same pose as the Lego statue. So we took pictures, and the guy that was at the table, it was the lady's husband. He's like, oh, here, have a signed picture. So he handed us a signed picture. He's like, oh, I love your Mario costume. So that was cool. But they love the Lego stuff. There was also a little obstacle course that the kids just wanted to do over and over again, even with monkey bars, which my kids couldn't figure that out. And to be fair, I never figured out monkey bars as a kid. Could never. So they wanted to do the balance beam. They did kind of the bungee spider thing that you crawl through. And I will say this, I'm very impressed. Lottie did it in her Princess Peach dress. It was amazing. But yeah, so we did that. There was a little corner with some games, so you could play like there were like these giant chess and checkers, a huge Connect Four, and this other one that's like you flick the little pucks back and forth with a rubber band. And Lottie called it the circle game. I'm like, sure. And the great thing about this area was there were chairs, so the grown-ups could sit on chairs while the kids played, and that was great. And then on the other side of KidCon, they have a little sort of mini stage with, an audience space. So there was somebody doing kind of a presentation about, they were talking about the periodic table and elements, and talking about them like they're superheroes. They had a bunch of kids up there like wearing capes, different colored capes, and which elements are in each category, and they had these shields that had removable electrons, and which ones are more volatile because they want to give away electrons and different things. So it was kind of cool. And Alex actually, I'm kind of impressed. Alex actually got into it. I have no idea if he understood what was being said or why. He just liked that the guy would throw the electron balls out to the audience because they would like fall off. So we sat there for a little bit and listened to that. It was kind of cool, and they had like a card thing they were selling. I was gonna go look at them, but then we all decided we need lunch. So we went back down to the convention floor, and we were standing in line to get some food. And they had a barbecue thing. We were doing like barbecue sandwiches, which was awesome. Well, it was next to this other stage where there was a group that was dressed up, and Jared was like, okay, none of their costumes match. I'm like, no, Jared, look, they're the Sugar Rush characters from Wreck-It Ralph. Because I recognized the song they were dancing to was the one from the game and the movie. Well, we're standing in line to go get food. And Alex, my sweet little Alex, he starts dancing to the music while we're standing in line. And he's like doing all these moves and all these things. And I'm just like, of course I have to whip up my phone and video some of this. And people around us are watching him. And I don't think he realizes what's going on or that people are paying attention to it, but it is just the funniest thing. And people will walk by and see the little kid dressed as Mario dancing to the music that the Sugar Rush girls are dancing to nearby. And I'm just like, kid, you are having the time of your life, aren't you? You are just, and it's like, he was so nervous at the beginning, and now he's just busting. And then we got our food, and we actually found a table upstairs to go eat. And then there was this Dragon's Lair experience thing. Basically, it was this group had, they do balloon sculptures. They had sculpted a dragon out of balloons that would actually breathe fire, quote unquote, breathe fire, which was really a balloon that it'd shoot out and pop. And you had to go in, and you would have so much time to find the golden egg. Well, we waited in line for that, went in and saw it, and it was cool, although the timer for finding the golden egg was not very long, and I don't think anybody actually found it in our group, but it was still kind of cool. And then, what else did we do? Oh yeah, then we went back to KidCon. Kids wanted to play games a little bit more, do the obstacle course again. And there was also a booth down there where it's a local store that does, bricks. It's called Bricks and Minifigs, I think is what it's called. anyway, they have a couple stores up here in the Salt Lake area, and they had a table that was like sectioned off as like, here are minifig heads, here's torsos, here's legs, here's hair and hats, and here's accessories. You build your own minifig, and you can build 3 of them for $12 and take them home and keep them. So Alex and Lottie both did one, then I did one just so we could get the 3 for 12. So that was the last thing we did. The kids did not want to leave, but it was getting late, and we were getting very tired, and we were out of money. But the next day, Lottie was like, Sunday morning, she's like, we go to Fan X? And I was like, well, there's nobody there right now. We'll go next year. But they loved it. They had a good time. They loved it. You know, like I said, once Alex kind of got over his nervousness or his, this is something new and I'm not sure about it. But, once he figured out it was okay, he was like, yeah, this is cool. I love it. So we're kind of hoping, we probably said this last year, but it didn't happen. We're hoping like maybe next year, if we play our cards right, we can get a hotel room, get those 3 days off and just stay. Because I think, because they actually built a hotel onto the convention center that wasn't there a couple of years ago. And if we can just go up to a hotel room in the middle of the day and take a break and then come back, it's like that might work better, especially with little ones. And yeah, but overall we had a good time. Kids loved it. Family members loved it. We saw some people that we don't get to see very often. Oh, and I did see Shalane for like a blink and you miss it. I got a bone to pick with her because she was coming up on Saturday to meet a friend to go, and I was like, oh, okay. So we're walking by, and I hear this hi as she just, and I look over and there she is, and she's just, and then they just keep going. That was it. And I'm like, hi, hello. So it was kind of like, then my mom and dad called me later and was like, did you see Shalane? I was like, yeah, for like half a second. But apparently she got plenty of pictures and met people and did. So it's fine. Yeah, it was great. We had a good time. It was awesome. That was Fan X.
Yeah.
Our experience for it anyway.
Yeah. And then in a way our weekends overlapped.
Yeah, that's true.
In more ways than one, because it turns out that apparently Ashley Eckstein can't do just one convention in the weekend. She has to do 2.
That's right. She was
in Salt Lake
she was
for her
there.
birthday, and then she flew from Salt Lake to Cincinnati.
Yeah, they had a whole line of like Star Wars, Clone Wars voice actors.
Yeah, it's
like,
usually her and Matt Lanter and the other guy's
Mm-hmm.
name that I can't remember. The other
James Arnold Taylor.
James Arnold Taylor. There we go.
Yeah, he's Obi-Wan. That's all I remember.
Yeah, you got Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan. So those 3 just kind of run around together at conventions. But before I even made to Cincinnati, Friday I wasn't able to go because I had stuff I needed to do around here, which that I ended up not even getting done because as I went out to my car Friday to go do said errands, like go to the bank and stuff like that, I had a nail in my tire.
Oh no.
The tire wasn't flat, thank goodness, but there was definitely a nail because it had to have been from a construct. There's so much construction going on around in the area. I had to have picked it up going by one of those because it had like this bright orange plastic ring attached to the head of it. So there was no missing. Yeah, there was no missing that this was in, because at first I just saw the orange thing and I thought maybe it was just like an orange, piece of plastic, and I thought maybe it had like, a little tab or something and it got stuck in the tread. And then when I looked and I realized, nope, that's a nail. Or a screw. I still don't know. Either way. It's something metal and sharp that embedded itself in my tire. So I was like, okay, well, I had to get gas anyway. And so I was like, I'll go to Costco. Because I've gotten stuff in my tires before, and they're really good about doing patches fairly inexpensively, and they usually do a really good job. I was like, because then I can also get gas while I'm there, because Costco gas is cheaper than everywhere else. So I take it to Costco and give my keys. I'm like, I got a nail or a screw or something in my tire, and I'm like, okay, we'll take care of it. So now I wander around the shop and the Costco, which is always dangerous, but still. They call me and they're like, yeah, the puncture is too close to the tire wall for us to be able to patch it. Tire's gonna have to be replaced. I'm like, crap. Like, and we don't have the type of tire you need. I'm like, well, I should probably take it to the place I got the tires in the first place. Anyway, so I was like, and they're like, it's a really, really slow leak. So, yeah, we'll top it off with air. And they took the plastic thing off of it. So all I had was just the nail, the offending piece of metal. And they're like, if yeah, so it's like, it's like if you need to drive to go, someplace else, you should be fine. I'm like, okay, that's good to know. So I leave Costco, I get my gas, and I was like, I know we bought these tires right before Chauncey and I took a trip to Knoxville, Tennessee for the first time. I was like, that was only a couple years ago, because it was after the pandemic, the height of the pandemic. So I was like 2021 or something like that. I was like, but I couldn't remember exactly when we bought the tires, and the paperwork was not in my glove box, which meant it was in the house. But of course I was already out. So I called Chauncey and he's like, I'm in a work meeting. Can I call you back? I'm like, yeah, no problem. Because they told me it was a slow leak, so I would be fine. So I was like, okay, well, he's going to have to go dig up that paperwork anyway. So I was like, well, I'm waiting on him to finish his errands. I'll go to the gym, get my workout in, and then I can get my shower in. So at least I get that, taken care of. So by the time I'm done, he's done. And so we're finally in touch. And I was like, yeah, the tire needs to be replaced. So he pulls the paperwork. He's like, no, we got the warranty on the tire, so it should be a free replacement. I'm like,
yay.
Yeah. So he's like, just go on over there.
Like what I hear, free.
Yeah, he's like, it should be in the system. Just go. And I'm like, okay. So I go over to the place where we bought the tires. They're busy, of course, because it's a Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yep, well, we've got the tire in stock. We'll replace it if you want to, it's $40 if you want to put a warranty on the new tire. I'm like, absolutely, because that's still cheaper than the actual tire. Tires are like $200 a piece. So I'm like, yeah, pay the $40 to have the warranty on the new tire. And they're like, well, it'll be a few hours and we'll get you good to go. I'm like, okay. So they're at a shopping mall. There's some different shops and stuff, and at the very end there's a Mexican restaurant. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go get something to eat. So I go to the Mexican restaurant and I'm taking my time, eating chips and ordering my food and drinking my weight in water. And finally mosey on back over to the tire place, and thankfully they had Wi-Fi. So I just sat there and played on my phone, and eventually they got the tire replaced and I was good to go. But by then it was like 6:00 in the evening. So my entire day had just been wasted for the most part. So like, okay. So I took what time I had, because I knew I had to go to bed early because I was getting up at like 6 a.m. the next morning to leave. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to salvage this as much as possible. So I go to the bank, just use the ATM instead. And did a couple other errands and finally got home. And then I had to pack and I had to eat dinner. The next thing you know, it's time to go to bed. So it's like, well, this day's been fun. So yeah, I go to bed, try to get some sleep, and I get up at 6 a.m. Saturday morning to finish, packing up the last of the toiletries. You know how it is, pack the toothbrush and stuff after you've used it, and all that fun stuff. Go out, load the car, stop at Starbucks, and then hit the road. And I made it to Cincinnati like 8:30, 8:45-ish. So I went straight downtown to the convention center and got a parking spot at a parking garage a couple blocks away, and had to go through bag check and security wand check. They were being very diligent about checking people's stuff and not allowing people in with anything, food or drink. So you could have just bought yourself a fresh coffee from Starbucks and they would be like, you need to finish that before you go inside.
Wow.
No sealed bottles of water, no snacks. I'm sure they made exceptions for people, little kids.
Right, yeah.
Bottles.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was
snacks.
like, I gotta sneak some fruit snacks in there for the little ones.
Yeah, I'm sure there were exceptions for the people with little ones, but for us
Unless
adults,
you have spectacular meltdowns.
yeah,
They
for
need to know
adults,
some kids are picky eaters. The only thing I could have found that my kids would have even remotely wanted to eat is a bag of chips, and even then, Alex was like, "Yeah, Lottie ate them."
Yeah. Now, granted, I had an empty bottle with me, which they did not care. So I could have filled it at a water fountain. Problem is, I hardly ever found myself near a water fountain. So I ended up way more dehydrated over the weekend than I would have cared for not being able to bring in my own water. So that kind of sucked. But whatever. So
yeah, and that honestly, that could be the convention center and not necessarily the convention rule, which sucks.
Yeah,
you do.
which is interesting considering the last time I went to this convention 7 years ago. Exact same weekend, actually. Yesterday, the 24th, was the anniversary when I met Stan Lee. And because I distinctly remember last time we came in and I had full on Lunchables in my bag last time, and they didn't give it a second thought. So,
okay.
But that was 7 years ago. So who knows? Maybe change in management or something. And then I had to go pick up my badge, which the poor gal at Will Call did not know where I needed to go for press badge pickup. So she's like, I'm just a volunteer. I'm like, that's okay. Every convention's different. She's like, find someone in a black shirt. They actually work for the con. They'll probably be able to tell you, which I did. And the press badge pickup was the same place that the VIP badge pickup was. So, but you do not get the VIP privileges. So I still had to wait with the rest of the unwashed masses for the doors to open up for the general public, which that's fine, whatever. So doors open for everybody at 10. We get in, and like I said, I've only ever been to this convention one other time before. It was 7 years ago. We were specifically there to meet Stan Lee, and that's what we spent most of the day doing, was standing in line, waiting to get our picture with Stan Lee. And then I spent the rest of the time waiting in line to meet John Barrowman. So I not really got to experience this convention, and get an actual feel of like the vendor floor and stuff. It was just like stand in this line and then stand in this line and then it's time to go home. So this time it was like I walk in and I'm like, oh, so this is what it's like. Okay. And their convention center, the area that they use for the vendor hall is a bit weird as far as the layout, because it's very long but not very wide. And it's got some very large concrete pillars that break it up. And then there's also this walkway that's part of the second floor. So you could go from if you go up on the second floor, you can go one side to the other through this walkway that cuts through the vendor hall. Like there's big glass windows, and like you could just go up there and just walk, or you stand there and just stare down at the people down the vendor hall, like, hello to people. I've been up there. So yeah, it's an interesting layout, and it made navigating the aisles a little difficult. I would find myself like, wait, have I gone down this aisle before? Or no? Wait, I was trying to go this way, and now I feel like I'm 2 aisles over from where I started. Because of the layout, because I had to work around these giant concrete pylons, and then there was this one vendor that I've seen him at other conventions before, that they just sell like t-shirts, like, geeky t-shirts and sweatshirts and hats, and then they've got kids and adults, all sizes, all different fans, but their footprint is huge, and they put them in the middle. So they're breaking up the flow of traffic. But at the same time, they also create like a natural barrier between that part of the vendor hall and where all the celebrities are, which I guess in a way, helps avoid any kind of sort of rush, I guess. But it was just weird navigating the aisles, because it was like I kept getting turned around, because I was like, wait, I wanted to go there. How am I over here? But of course, with it being Saturday, it being the busiest day, you got to play, you got to work the crowds best you can. So my goal right off the bat was to go get in line for Paul Bettany. And I'd prepaid for my autograph with him, so that meant I got priority to get in line, which was nice. I will also say, if you're at a convention, or if you're planning on going to a convention that's gonna have like a big name celebrity, and they're only gonna be there for one day, and like maybe you can only go that day, don't let that discourage you. Now, granted, this is I'm basing this solely on this one instance, but still, in every convention, they rely on their staff and their volunteers and stuff. But I will say, everything involving Paul Bettany was so efficient because he only had the one day. Like, I got there, he was already there at his table signing away, and it was just a little after 10. Because a lot of times, they're like, oh, VIPs, they get in a half an hour early. That just means they get to get in line a half an hour before everybody else. That does not necessarily mean the celebrity is going to be there right away for the VIPs. And a lot of times, they're not even there, like, whenever the doors open for the general public. Because, like, I was in line for Paul Bettany a little after 10, and he was there signing away. Meanwhile, Stephen Amell's table is right next door, and he comes strolling in at like 10:15, 10:20. So it's a thunderous applause, but still. So it's like, Paul Bettany, he had to have been there at 10, if not a little before 10, and he was just, signing away for folks. Which was real nice. So, go through, because I already paid, they scan the QR code, you're good to go. They're like, write your name on a Post-it so it's spelled correctly. what color would you like him to sign with? I've got my Marvel thing art piece that I'm collecting signatures on. And I had him sign on near Iron Man. I figured that was appropriate. Sign here next to Mr. Stark. And I told him, I said, we've got I said I do a podcast where we are watching and reviewing all of the Best Picture winners in chronological order. And I saw his eyes kind of light up. It was like, yeah, we did A Beautiful Mind earlier this year. And he's like, oh, that's pretty cool. I said, and I have to show you. So I hiked up my leg and showed him I said, because of the wife, I showed him my Labyrinth tattoo, and he's like, yep,
Nice.
that's the missus.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome.
So, but he was very nice. It was very, something about the British actors, like most of them tend to be, they're very polite. They don't tend to be very enthusiastic, though. Not everybody's Sylvester McCoy. Sylvester McCoy is an exception to the rule when it comes to British.
Little island unto himself.
Yeah. When it comes to like British stiff upper lip, keep calm, carry on, politeness, fine English gentlemen. Now the women are a little, they're their own thing, obviously, as Chrissy can attest to with Alex, and I can attest to with Jodie. But the men generally tend to be just very polite English gentlemen. So Paul Bettany was that way, and some of the others, Sylvester McCoy and Colin Baker, they're definitely the exceptions to the rule. So then I went and by then it was it was a little after 10 o'clock, and it was like my photo op with Paul was until 11:45. So I was like, I got all the time here. I'm gonna try to knock out as many of these celebrity autographs that I wanted to get as possible. I had a shopping list, literally. I'd written it down. So I'd written it down, and how much if they had pre-submitted to the convention, how much their autographs and like table selfies and stuff were going to be. They posted on the website, so I also knew how much money I needed ahead of time, which was nice. So I got Paul Bettany, and then I got Paul Freeman, aka Ivan Ooze, from the Power Rangers movie from 1995. So I had him sign my Power Rangers poster. He commented on the state of it because it's looking a little rough, just like my Doctor Who poster. But unfortunately, I cannot retire the Power Ranger poster quite yet, because I am still waiting for Amy Jo Johnson at some point, so I can get that last Power Ranger.
Once it's done, it's getting framed and never taking out.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I would also like to get like Bulk and Skull and Rita Repulsa, and as I mentioned before, unfortunately, Robert Axelrod is no longer with us, so I cannot get Roberts, but I can get Rita and Bulk and Skull. But yeah, it's just like I'm missing one Power Ranger. So it's like, come on, Amy Jo. No, but he was nice. He's on the older side. They had a sign on his table that says, "Please speak loudly," and face him, so he can hear you and understand you. So that was, but he was very nice. So he signed it. Thankfully, everybody's been consistent. Everybody's signed in gold. So I need to make sure that continues to be a thing. So
if you need to take a gold Sharpie with you,
I might need to, just in case. And then I got Bernard Hill. I picked up this poster of Middle Earth ages ago. Because I like having like one larger object where they could have multiple signatures on it, so that you're not having to find multiple frames for constantly hanging up celebrity autographs. I mean, I do have some where they have they have like the the 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 10 at their table, either headshots or scene from a movie or a TV show. I have a few of those. They tend to be the character voiceover artists. But for like Doctor Who, Power Rangers, Marvel, I like having the single thing and I can collect multiples on it because I just think it looks really cool when you have it on your wall. So I got this poster of Middle Earth quite a while ago, and when they were like Bernard Hill is going to be there, I'm like, sweet, Theoden King, gonna do it. So he was the first person to sign the poster, so I rolled it out best I could. Tried to have it as flat as possible. By the time the day came around, he's like, "Oh, what do you have here?" I said, "Oh, map of Middle Earth, and you're gonna be the first one to sign it." And I said, "Obviously, I think the most appropriate place would be for you to sign near Rohan." He's like, "That makes sense." He's like, "I wouldn't want to go near Gondor again." And I was like, "Well, yeah, you died there." He's like, "I got left." And I was like, "Well, he's like, not that I really want to go back to Helm's Deep or anything either." I was like, "Well, actually, the Battle of Helm's Deep is my favorite battle of all 3 movies." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I love it. I think it's one of the greatest battles, in cinema." And he's like, "Well, if you ask the people who are involved in that, they would probably say different."
That is
because at the time,
true.
filming was not so fun. Because if you remember, Battle Helm's Deep takes place mostly in the rain.
Yeah.
So
Wet
and
and
you're getting
cold.
muddy and you're soaking wet and it's loud and it's supposed to be nighttime, so it's kind of dark. So yeah, he was like, "Yeah, if you ask the people that were part of it, they would probably tell you different." He's like, he said after the second movie was finished and they finally got to see it, the premiere or whatever, he said he and a bunch of people got T-shirts that said, "I survived the Battle of Helm's Deep."
Yeah, and the I think on the extended edition they also said they called it Hell's Deep
Yes.
because it was just that bad.
Yeah.
But it looks amazing, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I said, yeah, I understand that, but it's my favorite. Like, no offense to the Battle of Pelennor Fields, but Helm's Deep is my favorite. So so he signed on Rohan for me, so I have Theoden King as my first Lord of the Rings autograph. And then a couple other Marvel like character actor guys. So you might recognize their face, but not know their name necessarily. One was Alex Kingston. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. He was Ivan, one of the Trust of Bros on Hawkeye. So he signed right near Kingpin's. Appropriate. And then funny enough, this guy's name is Alex too, but it's spelled differently. Alex Livinali, who is a Tuma, one of crap, now I'm blanking on his name again. Namor. He's one of Namor's minions in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So I got both of them. So that was cool. And then my last autograph I got was from Adam Savage
Nice.
of Mythbusters. So I got a copy of his book, Every Tool is a Hammer. And I got up there and they're like, wait, did you want him to sign? I'm like, I'm gonna have him sign his book. And he's like, oh, that's cool. So I get up there and he's got he's signing the book. He's like, thank you so much for buying the book. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, like I had to. It's like I originally got it from the library because I have this thing where it's just like, even if I think I'm gonna like a book, I'd still rather borrow it from the library first, and then if I really like it, I'll buy it. Because the last thing you want to do is buy a book and realize you hate it.
Right.
So
Done that.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I first got it and read it from I got it from the library, and I had with me, I pulled them out of the binder that I had them in. I took with me the 8-10 pages of notebook paper that are all of my notes from reading his book.
Wow.
Because I was like, I read it, but I was like, it got me, it like spoke to me so much. I had to write notes because I couldn't write in the book because the copy wasn't mine.
Yeah.
So I had to go out and get my own copy.
So you're okay to make notes and little.
Yes. It's like, so now I can read the book again, and it's like I can transfer my highlights, and then if I want to make even more notes, I can do that too. And he was like, that's so cool. And even the gal that was like working, there with him, he's like, look, she brought her notes from when she borrowed the book from the library. He's like, that's so cool. You made my day. I'm like, oh, thank you. He signed the book. He said, Rachel, stay obsessed. So now if anybody comments on my level of obsession about stuff, I can just be like, well, Adam Sandwich told me to stay obsessed. So, your opinion is invalid. Much like he says, I reject your reality and substitute it with my own. So he was super. Oh my God. If he hadn't had other people that wanted to meet him, I probably could have stood there and just talked to him for hours. Seriously, he is so smart and so enthusiastic about so many things. And what I love about his book is it's a combination of memoir and self-help and actual practical, like handy, like almost handyman and craft related tips. Like, so he'll actually because a lot of self-help stuff, it tends to be kind of very metaphorical and kind of woo, like, change your mindset, or look at the world differently, or think about this. His is very practical. Like, he does have some kind of a little bit of like, you think about things differently, but then he gives you like a practical, like think about glue, and then he'll talk about different types of glue and how they have different applications. And so it's like you can take the information about glue and take it as information that could come in really handy if you're doing a project and you're like, what kind of glue do I need? But at the same time, you can also kind of take it and make it a little metaphorical and apply it to your life as well. You kind of have to read it for that to make sense, but it's like it's one of like the best, like, I don't know what you want to call it, because it's not just self-help, but it's not like a how-to guide either. It's not just an autobiography. It's like all of that combined. And it's really good. It's a really good book. So, and of course, he's a big nerd. He loves cosplay. He loves a lot of the same fandoms that, a lot of people do. So yeah, I probably could talk to him and listen to him talk for hours and hours. If you're not subscribed to his YouTube channel, you should, because it's really good. Yeah, and Chauncey actually thought that was the most impressive autograph I got of the entire weekend. Adam Savages. So by then I knocked out all of the autographs I wanted to get, and it was about time to go get in line for my photo op with Paul Bettany. So I did that. And then went through the cattle call that is photo ops, and I got my picture with him. He is very tall. You can see, say I will, right now they're on my personal Facebook, but I will post them on our Facebook too. But you can see he's even kind of leaning over a little, so he's not even standing up straight, and you can see just how tall he is compared to me. So, but of course, I had to, even though Ming Na Wen had to cancel, I still made sure to rep Shield in all of its glory with my my shield poodle skirt that I made years ago in my I Heart Coulson t-shirt. So and my vest with some other Shield / Marvel related accoutrement on it. So and by then I was hungry. So I was like, I'm gonna go get something to eat. So I walked a couple blocks to a restaurant and got lunch, which was nice. And I got there before the rush. So it was really full of people by the time that I left. Was done with my lunch. But it was nice to put the feet up for a little bit, hang up the backpack on my chair so it wasn't on my shoulders anymore. Just kind of chill, get some water, much needed water, get some food, charge my phone a little. And then on my way back, on my way to lunch, I stopped at my car and dropped some stuff off. So that when I went back to the convention center, I was a little less bogged down with stuff. So that was kind of nice. So, not having a hotel room kind of sucks, but being parked close enough that I was able to swing by and drop stuff off was nice. So I went back to the convention center after eating and wandered the vendor floor a little bit. It was kind of crowded. And ran into a friend of mine. So I talked to him for a while. Took some pictures of some cosplays and some of like the kind of photo op areas that they had set up. They had a Thestral set up at one spot. Saw the Star Wars. They had the local Star Wars groups there. They had a trench run that people could attempt. And if they drop the torpedo at the right time, they won a prize. They had a carbonite freezing unit set up, so they take a picture and make it look like you're in the middle of being frozen by carbonite. Of course, I had to be weird and not act like I was scared, but instead I threw the peace sign instead. They had a droid with Grogu and this little bassinet wandering around. The usual stuff you'd expect with the your local 501st and Rebel Legions wandering around. They had these giant crates that had nutcrackers in them, and some of them had signs around their neck that said, "Meet David Krumholtz at booth whatever the number was." And it took me several times walking by them to realize, oh yeah, he's in the Santa Claus. That's why
Charlie from Numbers.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, that's why they got him advertised with the nutcrackers. Duh. Santa Claus. Because to me, he's Charlie from Numbers. So, there was a group dressed as the characters from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So you had King Arthur, and you had Tim the Enchanter, a couple of the knights, and the guy who carries around the Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch. And of course, they were walking around, galloping around while Patsy clanks together some coconuts. So it's very funny because I would be at a booth looking at something, looking at art or whatever, and I could hear like the next aisle over just clack 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 clack.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
Yeah. So it's just really funny because you could just occasionally you'd hear the clacking of coconuts coming from off in the distance somewhere, and I'm sure some people were probably very confused. I laughed every time I could hear it. But they came by and I'm like, I was like, can you stop? Can I get a picture? And they're like, absolutely. So they stop. I got a picture, and I was like, don't leave yet. I got to show you something. And I hiked up the poodle skirt. I had leggings underneath, so I'm not like flashing everybody. But still, hiked up the poodle skirt and had to show them my Spam-A-Lot tattoo, which is the Holy Grail with the killer rabbit of Chernobog peeking out at the top of it. So they're like, they all went, "Ooh, nice! Just keep that away from us." I'm like, "No problem." Meaning the rabbit. I'm like, "Keep the rabbit away." I'm like, "No problem." So yeah, I made some dent in the vendor floor, but not a whole. And eventually I just got tired. As much as I really wanted to stay and go to watch the cosplay contest, but at that point, I'd been up since 6 a.m. I'd been on my feet. My feet were hurting, even though I was wearing tennis shoes, some of my best tennis shoes, but it's all concrete, unfortunately. And my lower back was not happy. So I was like, I can't. I'm sorry. Although on my way out, I did stop and make a couple of impulse purchases. One of them was from this artist, which I don't have her name because I paid cash. But and she doesn't have anything about like who she is and like where you can find her art anywhere. On the little adoption certificate I got, but she makes these little clay, like the modeling clay that after a while it dries and it becomes really hard. But she has all these little animals that are a mashup of animal and food. So she'd have like little snails, but like instead of a shell on their back, it'd be like a little strawberry or a thing of raspberries. Or
are they and they're painted, or?
And they're painted, yeah, they're very colorful. So, and then she had, and they were like even the biggest ones, the one I got, this thing probably is only, a couple inches wide and, maybe like, a couple inches tall. It's small, it's probably about the same size as, a D20. Your standard D20. So not very big. But she had a series of cats inside macaroons. So she has adoption certificates for all of them with the names already on there, and then you should just put your name because it's like has been formally adopted by so and so on this day. And it says, "This familiar shall forevermore be part of your magical family." So I adopted this little sky blue and white kitten in a blue macaroon named Kelton.
That is so cute.
Who's now sitting on I have like a little collection on the base near my external computer monitor where I've got like a couple of 3D printed objects and some other just kind of knick-knacky type stuff. So I put Kelton there. And then I did buy one piece of art. Only one. But it is a print of Sir Didymus on top of Ambrosius from Labyrinth. Because Guy Gilchrist, who worked with Jim Henson and did a lot of the Henson property comic strips, was there. And he was selling some of his original strips for like buku amount of money. But like it was really cool. But then he had some prints too. And of course, I'm a sucker for anything Labyrinth. But I didn't want to necessarily get another print of Jareth or Jareth and Sarah because I have a lot of that already. As much as I love David Bowie, but yeah, all the characters in Labyrinth are awesome, and I love Sir Didymus and Ambrosius as a team. So I got that. And he said he signed it to Lady Rachel. Charge! So this is this fun print of Sir Didymus on Ambrosius' back, looking like they're about to take off, unless Ambrosius gets scared and turns tail. So that was really cool. It was really cool to meet somebody who worked with Jim, especially considering yesterday happened to be Jim Henson's birthday. So that was kind of a cool coincidence as well. So I left with the intention to go to the hotel, because I'd not been to my hotel yet to check in or anything. So I was like I'll go back to the hotel, I can put my feet up, and then I can hit everything Sunday rested. So I go to the car and I go to leave the parking garage, and it's late afternoon, early evening on a Saturday, and you would have thought it was rush hour on a weekday, the way the traffic was. I noticed there seemed to be an awful lot of foot traffic anyway when I left the convention center, and it wasn't necessarily people going into the convention center. So then I'm trying to leave this parking garage, and it's just like bumper to bumper traffic, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? So eventually I get out, and I'm following, my GPS, and it takes me down to the street that I need to go to, which is close to the river, to go get on the highway because I ended up getting a hotel out by the airport instead, because it was a hell of a lot cheaper than trying to stay downtown. And I realized, as I'm navigating this traffic trying to get onto the highway, that the reason the traffic is so busy is because the Cincinnati Reds are playing a home game.
That would do it.
Yes. And at the same time, Kroger, who I don't know if they're based out of Cincinnati or they have like just an office in Cincinnati. Kroger was in town. Okay. So, but Kroger was also having some like corporate like conference or something, because one of the friend I ran into, Alan, who does the hungover mashups. He said he saw a bunch of people with Kroger like lanyards and stuff. So apparently he said they're having some sort of like conference or something or other, but then they were also doing like some sort of public outreach in the same area down by down on those streets down by the baseball stadium and the river, where there were a whole bunch of like giant Kroger semi trucks parked along the street, and they had like booths. I don't know if they were giving out like groceries to the public or what was going on, but so it was very busy downtown. So I was glad that I was getting out of downtown, actually, because if I was staying downtown and then had to navigate that to try to find some place to get like dinner or something, that would have sucked.
Yeah, although I guess you could go, hit up the Kroger people like, hey.
Yeah, really.
Back to my own
like, hi, I'm not local, but will you feed me? So eventually I navigated through that kerfuffle and got out to the Holiday Inn by the airport, which technically was in Kentucky, because Cincinnati is really weird because you can be in Ohio and then be in Kentucky within like minutes. Because there's one spot where Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky all meet around the Ohio River, and you could just kind of bounce from state to state to state really easily. So technically like I had to,
but with actual water.
Yeah, so technically I had to go to Kentucky to get to my hotel, but that's okay. So I get checked in. It's a Holiday Inn, fairly reasonable, great, free breakfast, always a win. I always like sleeping in Holiday Inns. Their beds are always comfy. So I go dump my stuff, plug my phone in, kick off the shoes, and just kind of chill for a little bit. And at that point I would have fallen asleep, but I turned on the TV to try to keep myself awake, because I was like, if I fall asleep now, I'm probably going to wake up like in the middle of the night starving because I had not had dinner yet. So I turned on the TV. Guardians 2 was on the TV, so that was kind of fun, especially considering I just met Michael Rooker and Sean Gunn. So I'm like, hey, I've met them recently. And then Taserface, I'm like, hey, I've met him too. Rocket goes on his laughing spree. Taserface, yeah. About how stupid of a name he thinks that is. I'm like, hey, I've met Taserface. He's a nice guy. So eventually I was like, okay, I have to get dinner. So I'm looking on the map on my phone. I'm like, okay, here, I'm going to get dinner from here. This is a place I know the food's good. Do that. So get in the car, go get dinner. There's a Trader Joe's right in the same shopping center. So I go to the Trader Joe's to get an adult beverage to go with said dinner. Then go back to the room, eat my dinner, drink my drink, finish watching Guardians 2. And at that point, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not staying awake any longer. And I am asleep. I'm in bed by like 10. Like, I am done. And that was perfectly fine. It was perfectly respectable sleep. I did struggle a little bit between being warm and cold. Couldn't quite get the thermostat dialed in right, but that's not the Holiday Inn's problem. That's a me problem, and hot flashes at my age, it's just a thing. But I was up at a little after 6 a.m. One, because they started serving breakfast at 6:30, but at 6:30 my time, Inter Milan was playing a football match. So I got up and turned on the match on my computer, and I get into our sports ball chat, and of course Nick's already up because it's not 6:30 in the morning for him. It's like 11:30 for him. It's going on lunchtime for him. And Holly was up as well because the dogs made sure that she was up for breakfast. So it's early morning for us and lunchtime for Nick. And it worked out well because it's like, I'll just, they just started serving breakfast. Like, I will watch the first half. When we get to halftime, I will go get my breakfast, come back and watch the second half. And by the time the match is over, that it will be time for me to finish getting ready for my day, check out of the hotel, and go back to the convention center. So that's exactly what I did. At halftime, I went and got my breakfast, and then watched the second half while I was eating my biscuits and gravy, among other things. And Inter won, which is good. That was a hard fought match. We had quite the discussion in the chat. It's like, come on, eventually one of these attempts to get a goal is going to go in. And it did. Inter won 1-0. And then it was like, well, it's still kind of early, so I went back to bed. I was dressed, but I lay back down and took a power nap. So then when I woke up again, I was like, okay, loaded up my stuff, in my cart that I used to carry everything around, loaded all up, made sure I had everything, walked out, left my hotel room and was checked out and out the door in like 20 minutes from the time I got up. So I'm like, hey, there we go. Then I went back downtown, parked in the same parking garage, and this time, just had the one bag to go through bag check. So that's nice. And used the day to wander the rest of the vendor hall that I did not get to see the first day. And even then, I still got turned around every now and then. Just the layout. But ran into, again, some people I know, and got to chat with them for a while. So that's always nice. Some of them are vendors, because I was saying this before we started. Obviously I'm very fortunate to be able to go to as many conventions as I go to. And especially when provided with a press badge, because that means I don't have to pay to get in, which again, I also understand is not something that everybody gets to do. So yeah, I try to make the best of the opportunities given to me. But since I do so many conventions kind of in the general, couple 100-mile radius of where I live, that's the same with the vendors. A lot of them, the one gal that Chrissy discovered, who's like Florida and Colorado and, all these places, not every vendor has the ability to travel, extensively, lots of miles, multiple states. So I tend to see a lot of the same vendors over and over again. And which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when you've seen them recently and also purchased from them recently, you're not as inclined to like buy from them again. So it's like, hey, good to see you. Sorry, I'm not going to give you any more of my money at the moment.
I'm still enjoying the thing I bought from you that last time.
Yes. Yeah. So, but there were some really interesting and talented both artists and other crafts people. There's one vendor called Modern Rugged that they do some D&D stuff. They do dice, but they also make handmade leather stuff, like leather bound journals and bags and stuff. And oh my goodness, if you're some people may find this weird, but I love the smell of leather.
Oh,
so
awesome.
walking up to their table and just getting hit with that aroma of leather, it's like, oh yeah. But they were at Gen Con. They actually are capable of doing multiple booths at multiple places on the same weekend, because he's like, yeah, I'm like one of 5 of us that are out this weekend. So I was like, that's cool. It was like, but you were at Gen Con, right? He's like, well, not me personally, but yes, as a company we were. I'm like, yeah, I thought so. I recognize stuff. Because again, smelling the leather. They had some cosplay groups there. Of course, they had their local Ghostbusters group there. The guy who owns the Mandalorian that I had my picture taken with at GalaxyCon last December was there. Offering photo ops with his Mandalorian DeLorean. And they had some other local cosplay groups, which was cool. The Agents of Ohio were there, so I finally got to meet some of those folks. They are an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fan group. In Ohio, obviously. So I got to meet them and drool over some of the authentic props from the show that they've collected throughout the years. So we talked about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and we talked about some of the casts that we've met and want to meet and that sort of thing. So that was kind of cool. They had a couple of different vendors that custom make lightsabers, which was pretty awesome. Of course, all your different collectibles and figurines and stuff like that. There was one booth that had several of the, speaking of Lord of the Rings, the Weta scale figures that I see because I get the emails from Weta and I'm like, oh, that looks so nice. I don't need it. It would just collect dust. So, a lot of your usual suspects, your Loungefly bags and your comics and your handmade jewelry and stuff like that. The Dufftor and I got our picture with Darth Vader while sitting in the Emperor's chair. So that was that was fun. And then it was time to go. It was Sunday was definitely quieter. Several of the celebrities had to leave early because they had flights. Adam Savage left at like 1:30. I think Karen Ashley from the Power Rangers, she had to leave at like 3. I think someone else had to leave at 3. Obviously, Paul Bettany was only there for Saturday, so was Stephen Amell. So that entire wall was just empty. And the only person who consistently had a line the entire time was Ashley Eckstein. Every time I walked by, she would have at least the lineup area right in front of her table was always full. If not, there were people in overflow right nearby. And she's just like Alex Kingston. She's a chatterer. She loves to talk to her fans and make them feel like, they're the only two people there at the time. She's so sweet. I saw her parents from the side as well. Her parents are very nice people as well. I swear her mom is the two of them are just clones of each other. So I just thought it was wild, the fact that she was in Salt Lake and then all of a sudden she was in Cincinnati. I'm like, good Lord, woman.
Racking up those frequent flyer miles.
I guess so. It's like, she wants to make a weekend of it. Yeah, because FanX isn't going to Sunday, so
No, it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Which I'm gonna be honest, I think Thursday's my favorite day to go because it's not super busy. I mean, obviously there's if there's somebody specific you want to see and they're not there Thursday, you gotta make plans to go. But like just for walking around the vendor hall and everything, it's just kind of nice. I mean, it's still busy, but it doesn't feel like you're rushed.
Yeah,
like you do on a Saturday. That's my
yeah.
But I like it. I like that we start on Thursday.
Yeah. So, but then I was like, since I'd had a decent breakfast, it lasted me a lot longer than any other breakfast, like the breakfast I'd had before. So I was able to last longer before I started getting hungry. But by then, you could kind of tell things were just kind of trickling towards the end. So I was like, okay, so time to call it quits again. Once again, the Reds were playing at home again. Thankfully traffic wasn't nearly as bad. But it was still, a decent amount of people downtown. So it's something I forget about when going to some of these conventions in other cities. But it's like, oh yeah, sports. That's a thing that could affect the crowd levels.
I mean, I can't remember when the NBA starts, but so like we didn't have to deal with the Jazz playing, but they announced the dates for next year, and it's basically the very tail end of September for FanX. I'm like, are we gonna run into some issues with the NBA downtown, or what are we doing? But usually they're more the end of October. But I mean, preseason is a thing, so it's like, okay, just be careful, guys, because traffic. I mean, downtown Salt Lake is pretty much torn up because everybody thinks they need to remodel everything. So there's like a fraction of the parking there normally would be. Yeah.
I think, because sometimes around here, because our convention center is literally across the street from the baseball stadium in one direction, and literally across the street from the football stadium in another direction. And then the basketball stadium, while not literally across the street, is only a few blocks away. So depending on what time of year it is, there could be a baseball game, and or the Colts could be playing at home, and or the Pacers could be playing, or it could, if it's in the spring, the Big Ten tournament could be going on. So that's always fun. So
scheduling is a joy, just in general.
Yeah. But it's something you forget about sometimes when taking into consideration crowds in a metropolitan area.
Yeah, and I was a little worried because we went up Saturday. I'm like, oh yeah, the Utes are playing at home, but the campus is up on the hill a bit, but still the tracks line goes through downtown to get up to the football stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I hope this isn't a problem, and it wasn't, but it was still like it was.
Yeah. So something to keep in mind, kids, when especially if you're looking for to book a hotel or something, that could affect it as well. It may not just be the convention that affects hotel availability. There could be other things going on as well. So
plan accordingly, and
don't be afraid to, if you can, if you're driving and you got a car, don't be afraid to look outside of downtown and driving in. That's what I did. I stayed 20 minutes out of town, and was actually kind of nice to be able to get away because of there are multiple things happening downtown all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to go and go to a Trader Joe's and pick up stuff, and go to a restaurant that I know I'm going to get decent food at.
Yeah, and it's not going to, you don't have price gouging.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with us is before I was married, had kids, I was like, oh yeah, I'll take the train and go into downtown. But I think with two little ones, I mean they might enjoy the train, but at the same time, that's a lot of walking for little legs. So strollers, if they're young enough, but then you got a kid like Alex, a little bit bigger, and they get tired out and grumpy and hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that's when I'm if I could get it, and honestly, you're talking about, you stayed at the airport, and I'm because I'm thinking of the downtown hotels we have here, and I'm those could get pricey, and it would be nice to have something really close. If we stayed at the airport, we might as well just go home, because the airport is 10 minutes away from our house. So yeah, you just gotta take into account what's going on, what's your situation, what do you have to consider, who is going to be there on what day, who do you want to see. So it does take a little bit of planning, but the planning's worth. And sometimes I didn't go over this because I forgot, because we were also going to try to meet the voice actors for Ladybug and Cat Noir. Instead of Christina and Bryce Papenbrook, and we were ooh, we want to go meet them, but Christina wasn't there until Friday, and we saw Bryce at his table, but it was so crowded, so we just didn't get to go see them, because we could have gone on Saturday. But I don't know how I feel about standing in line with my two little ones, even if it is to meet people that I know they would have enjoyed. I really do, but it's oh, your lines are just so long, guys. So you do what you can, and either way, you do end up. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, yep.
But it was fun. Since I had since I was in the Cincinnati area, since I'd driven all the way out there, I wanted to make the best use of my time while I was there. So on my way out of town, I drove up to Jungle Gyms, which, if you don't know what Jungle Gyms is, it is if Epcot and Chuck E. Cheese made a baby, and that baby was a grocery store. That's the very, very, very undetailed description of what Jungle Gyms is. You go to the website and check it out.
Expecting you to say grocery store.
Yeah, go to their website, check out the photos, check out the video, go on YouTube, and check out people's. It is a grocery store. I mean, I'm sure the locals there after a while, the novelty probably wears off. But for those of us that, live in the Midwest and don't have anything this exciting, you're like, well, if you're in Cincinnati, you have to go to Jungle Gym. There's 2 stores. There's the one in Fairfax, something. And then there's another one. It's, I think, Eastgate or something like that. Don't go to the Eastgate one. Go to the other one on Dixie Highway. Because it's bigger and so much better. But it's huge. And they have pretty much anything and everything you could ever think of. I love going there for like their international section and picking up also just snacks and stuff that can't buy anywhere else unless you're lucky enough to have like an international grocery near you. Like if you're really into like Asian snacks, a lot of places have your maybe some sort of like Asian grocery because families moved in and that's their business or whatever. But there's their international section is broken down by like region. So you've got England and France, your European countries, and then your Asian, and they've got a whole section that's just hot sauce. They're if you indulge in adult beverages, their alcohol selection, just in that in itself, is something to behold.
So I'm looking at their website.
Their cheese, just the cheese selection is amazing.
There is a section on their website about plan your trip.
Yes.
Store information and nearby hotels.
Yes.
I'm like, holy cow, what is this place? This is nuts.
It is amazing. 20,000 square feet of just madness.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alrighty then.
Also, America's Best Restroom. Which, here's the thing: the restrooms that are purported to be the America's Best Restrooms are closer to the entrance where you come in. So if you want to check out the restrooms, plan it so that you need to go when you first get there. Otherwise,
you're out of luck.
Otherwise, if you're like me and you didn't have to go when you got, although I've been in the restrooms before. I've been to Jungle Gyms a good dozen times at this point. But if you're like me and you either hit up the Starbucks that's attached, and so you're drinking Starbucks while you're browsing, or you hit up the bar and get a beer or a thing of wine to drink while you're shopping. How many grocery stores can you do that? So then you end up having to go by the time you get to the checkout, and the restrooms by the checkout are just generic. They really need to refurbish those restrooms more than anything.
Okay. So
yeah.
You go to this place and it's like you have to check out the bathrooms. It's amazing. 5 stars
Mm-hmm.
would here again.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, oh my gosh, this place is nuts.
Yeah. And they've got a whole section on their website of video of photos, but they've got animatronics, and like I said, there's a bar, so there are plenty of people walking around. All the grocery carts have a cup holder, so there are plenty of people walking around, grabbing produce with one hand. The monorail doesn't actually do anything; it just sits there. Okay. But still,
I was flipping through the photos on here. I'm like,
yeah,
good grief.
Yeah, they got like it's like they got different animals out, giant like concrete or whatever animals, and there's jungle sounds and sounds of like elephants and monkeys when you're walking in. It's nuts. It's absolutely just the most outrageous thing you will ever see in your life when it comes to grocery stores, but it's so cool.
It's like somebody looked at Costco and said, amateurs.
Yeah, pretty much. And then right now, is if they're not big enough already, one side of the store is under construction. They're adding another 12,000 square feet.
Wow.
Like, what else could they sell that they don't already have?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they'll find something.
Oh, I'm sure they will find something.
I never really had a reason to visit Ohio, but I might now.
Yeah. Come visit me, and then we will take a trip over to Cincinnati to go to Jungle Gyms. But I was like, I already drove all the way out here to Cincinnati. I'm gonna go to Jungle Gyms, and then Chauncey had stayed home. Again, cleaning the carpet. I was like, what do you? He was like, I'm going to Jungle Gyms. What do you want me to look for? And he had specific like ingredients that we would not be able to find here, no matter which fancy schmancy grocery store we went to. There was some of the stuff I know we would never find in Indianapolis. So I found some of the stuff he wanted, and then I picked up some the international snacks. Although they didn't have any Jammy Dodgers. So
really,
yeah, I know. I don't know what the deal is.
Disappointing.
Yes. So I did get other stuff though. So it's not like I walked out completely empty-handed. But yeah. So, but like I said, I wanted to make the most of my time since I was already out there anyway. So I was at Jungle Gyms for several hours. It's a lot like IKEA, you can't just like pop in and pop out. You kind of have to like wander up and down all the aisles. So,
IKEA, they trap you in there.
Yeah. Jungle Gyms, you're more just mentally overloaded, mentally stimulated, and that's why you stay in there.
All right, I learned something new. Jungle Gyms is a place, and holy cow, that is something. Awesome.
So, yeah, but once I was done to Jungle Gyms, then I had to make the car ride home to drive home, which thankfully is not too bad. The weather was really nice over the weekend, so I didn't have to be too concerned about that. It was mostly just construction that I had to be concerned about. So I got home, unloaded, Chauncey fed me, and then I was out. I was out and have been out off and on since. So I'm ready to be out again.
At least you pricked up long enough to tell us of your adventures. So
yes,
yeah, I had to tell you all about the adventures. So yeah, I mean I had fun. This is not a convention that I would like immediately put on the calendar every year and be like, make sure that I am free that weekend. I think it needs a little bit of work. They didn't really have a whole lot in the way of panels outside of, the celebrity Q&A panels. And I don't know if that's just a lack of fans submitting stuff or what. Supposedly the rumor is that the convention center is going to get rehabilitated, maybe in a way it needs to be rehabilitated, also remodeled. Maybe it needs both.
Tomato.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in the next, and that supposedly is going to be sooner rather than later. So I guess we'll see. This is definitely a convention that's like, I will go to it if they've got somebody there I absolutely want to see. But I'm not going to go out of my way to go to it. Not something like PopCon where I'm going to be there come hell or high water type convention. This is definitely keep an eye on the celebrity announcements, and then if they announce somebody that's like, oh, I gotta meet them, then I'll make an effort to go. Stanley, absolutely. John Barrowman, I meet John is all over the place, but so
now if Amy Jo Johnson went to that one.
Yeah, if Amy Jo Johnson went to that one, I would definitely be there with bells on.
There you go.
Yeah, same thing with Paul Bettany. Clark Gregg has been at that one before, so here's hoping. So it's I was joking with Chauncey. I said it's really like I should start taking bets now on people's people can start wagering. Whose autograph am I going to get first? Amy Jo Johnson or Clark Gregg?
Chauncey will have to go with you to meet Clark Gregg because he's going to need a mop and a bucket. You're going to be
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the one gal from Agents of Ohio. Yeah, we were talking about that. The fact that she has met Clark, but she said that the person who's made her dumbstruck is Ming-Na.
Ooh, yeah. I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and she said it was actually probably more the fact that she's Mulan and not because she's Agent May. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's going to be a toss up. It's not if. When I meet Clark Gregg, am I going to go the Weird Al route where I completely lose all ability to speak, or am I going to do the Colin Baker route where I burst into tears? There's no in between. Yeah,
or
there's that. It's going to be one of those. It's just, again, place your bets now. But then again, it's like whose signature am I going to check off first? Clark Gregg,
that's her bingo card.
Yeah, to add to my to round out the collection. So not that Clark Gregg is like, oh, once I get his, I'm done. Because now as I keep making stuff in the MCU, like I'm gonna have to get another one of those at some point. Because it's going to get full, especially, as long as not everybody else decides to sign like Michael Rooker, then I'll have plenty of room to last me a while.
True.
Like, come on, people, leave some space.
No, this mine.
So if people write like normal people, I won't have a problem, but if everyone decides to take the Michael Rooker route and take up, half of the space, then we're going to have an issue. So that and people keep encroaching on the Captain America, which is right smack dab in the middle. I mean, eventually I'm going to have to put like a tape, like a post-it note or something there, like reserved for Clark
Evans
Gregg.
Only for Clark Gregg, yeah.
Yes, this is for Clark Gregg and then Chris Evans, but first Clark Gregg, and then Chris Evans can work around Clark Gregg.
Yes. He can fanboy around Clark Gregg.
Yeah. At least with the Power Rangers, it's real easy. They're just lined up in a row. It's like they've all signed right below their respective heads / helmets. Alpha, put himself in one corner. Ivan Ooze put himself in another corner, so it's right there. Pink Rangers, you smack dab in the middle. Nice space right there for you, Amy Jo. So yeah.
All right.
Rant done.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I think we've got it all, huh?
I think so.
Yep. I think so.
So, anyway, if any of our listeners went to either of these conventions and want to tell us about your
I'm sure we will hear from Shalane about her.
I'm sure we will, and I have no idea what she did beyond the pictures that I saw on Instagram. If you or just want to talk about conventions in general, some fun ones you've been to, maybe some that we should put on our radar. Let us know in feedback. Our email address is fivishfangirls@gmail.com. You can also visit our website, which is thefivishfangirls.com, and that has links to all of our social media where you can see pictures that Rachel and I posted. different things. We also have our show notes on our website, so links will be there as well. Some of the stuff we've mentioned in the show today. And you can also support the podcast through our Patreon and our merch shop. Both go to help fund the shenanigans, and which is always appreciated. And of course, we thank you for listening and commenting, downloading, supporting. Any of those things that you do is we're very grateful. So thank you for being our audience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Keep on rocking on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, with that, unfortunately, Brittany's internet gave out on her, so she says good evening to everyone.
You internet gremlins.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah,
So we will say goodnight on her behalf.
Yes.
But for the rest of us, we shall say goodnight for this week.
This is Chrissy hanging out in Salt Lake City.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. My wallet. My poor wallet. Oh well. You can't take it with you, but the memories are priceless.
Exactly.
Thank you for listening to the Fiveish Fangirls. Please visit thefivishfangirls.com for details on how to further support the show, along with information on our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back. We love our Fiveish fam and appreciate all of your feedback, shares, and encouragement. Remember to keep letting your geek flag fly.